on polluto. For most of the viewers of this show today, none will have seen my face before today. Some could have read my name in some very specialized magazines. Otherwise, I'm a totally unknown composer. But I've been so active in the children programming. I think I have something like 350 or 400 half hours on the air. I'm doing music for dramas, film, television series. I did few of very romantical series. One of the program was Grace Kelly, a love story with Renier. The other one was Rita Hayworth with Aga Khan. So obviously you're talking about very emotional content, very far from animation. And on the radio side, at least 250 programs, dramas, from comedy to suspense. In 1994 and 97, I received the prize, the trophy, if I can say, for the most played Canadian composer for the television. It means only that many people listen to your shows. I have no merit. I have absolutely no merit in doing that. I'm a film and television composer, and my name is Pierre-Daniel. In a very simple way, I would say that no one never chooses music. Music chooses you. I was really inclined to do music. I was doing music all day long, and I was not that bad at it. So my parents decided I should take piano lessons. And I started there at the age of 4.5 or 5. I had very vivid memories of that time. I remember the first pieces of music I would learn. I remember very well the classroom in which we were playing xylophones and maracas and castanets and all those simple rhythm instruments. I remember the face of my teacher when she was happy, and I remember her face when she was not happy. Did I enjoy it? I think the worst part of my music training was practicing. Having me sit behind the keyboard for more than 15 minutes was a miracle for my mom, because I was too much moving. I mean, I don't find an expression, even though in French I could not tell you how a moving kid I was. I'm always running left and right. And because I was born with perfect pitch, my music teacher realized only 2 years after I could not read a note of music. I was just miming what she was doing. I was learning the piece by rote. I mean, she would play it once for me. It was already recorded there, and I would fool around on the keyboard till I find exactly what she's been playing before. So at the age of 7, at one point where it was getting more complicated, the teacher said, okay, let's start from there, so in the middle of the piece. So she pointed out a bar on the music paper, and I could not evaluate what she was talking about. So she said, can't you read? I said yes, because I understood that I was in deep trouble. And after a few minutes of bluff, I mean, she said, no, we are in trouble. And maybe it's not the time and the place to say that, but I started really to read music after my first 20 years of music studies. At the age of 21, 22, I could read roughly a piano score, but before it was not in my interest as I was concerned. I had a friend working in a radio station in Montreal, and one night he calls me and he said, Pierre, we have a job for you tomorrow morning. We need you desperately. We terminated a technician today, but we need to replace them tomorrow morning. I said, I never did that. He said, well, you play piano. There are 88 keys on a keyboard. There are a lot less on a board. So you can really manage doing well, I'm sure. So I got there at 9 in the morning after, and I got the job of a technician on air. I did that for 2 years, and from step to step, I became a production manager for the FM division of that company. So this brings us in 1980, where I took really a break of music, because at one point, I was probably really much disappointed about the outcome. Since I've been focusing on a musical career for that many years, and you realize at the age of 23 that chances of doing that are really so small. So only a miracle can happen to make you realize your wishes. I thought and I believed really hard there was some event I would be able to piggyback on when the chance would go by. I had the opportunity of meeting quite a lot of stars in doing those radio shows I was airing. And I remember once, the most important line I ever learned at the time was, chance passes for everyone. The difference between you and your neighbor is that you have to be prepared to grasp, to seize the chance. One of my former boss from the radio business, who had started his own little production company, calls me and he said, Pierre-Daniel, not even though he was not even that polite, he said, hey Ro, you did jingle before? In post-production, we talk frames. It took me a field to answer. I said, yes, of course, which was a totally perfect lie. But he said, okay, see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we had a briefing with the customer. I got my first gig in lying. Now, because of my knowledge of the people in the business, I knew who to call. And those people were my friends, because in studio, a musician best friend is the technician. You need to have a friendship, to have a communication with those guys. Otherwise, the technician can really jeopardize your session, and vice versa. So I called those 3 guys, and we made a team, and we did jingle for 10 years together without any stop. So from 1980 to 1992, I was in the jingle business, and I'm the one who decided not to do jingle anymore. I had, through my jingle business, a very good relationship with a lady in Ottawa. We met the first time 5 years after she gave me the first gig I did for her. We knew our voices, we knew our writing because we were faxing, we were talking, but we never met. And one day she pops up in my studio without any advice, and she said, "Hello, I'm Lynn." "Oh my God, it's you, it's me." So that's the lady I've been working with for almost the last 20 years at the CBC.
Ah
C'est
oui.
peut-être dans ma manière de jouer.
Ah oui, ça. Parce que là, tu vois, on ne peut pas se douter qu'il va y avoir un drame. OK? C'est joyeux. À
OK,
partir-
pas suite.
Maintenant, le même thème. Les plus grandes qualités de Pierre-Daniel. Étrangement, c'est son écoute. Lorsqu'on lui parle du genre de musique qu'on voudrait entendre sur un texte ou sur un projet, sa capacité d'absorber l'information et de la retransmettre dans une composition musicale, avec ce que ça implique de talent et de connaissances, part essentiellement de son écoute. Ça, c'est sûr. Après ça, sa patience. Ça, ce sont, selon moi, ces deux grandes qualités. Mais c'est un gars ludique, c'est un gars qui aime rire, c'est un gars qui prend la vie avec un grain de sel. C'est magnifique, Pierre-Daniel.
Et là, on est triste.
Essentially, what is the work of a commissioned music composer? We become the shadow of the director. That's the relationship we have to have with the director, because we arrive always at the end of a production. We are always in the last stretch. We know there's a delivery date. There's nothing we can deal with, and we cannot push it, but we're there. We have to grasp in so few days what is the show about. So we really have to make one with the director, otherwise it cannot work. We are not the stars. We come from the same schools as the concert music composers, the serious music we call them. Nevertheless, we're very serious in doing what we do. But there's a kind of a schism between the serious world and the film and television composers. We have the same background. The voice leading, when we talk about the way notes are supposed to behave on a staff, it's exactly the same for serious music as it is for film and music television. The only difference, but it's a big one, we work under pressure. A composer who is asked to compose the music for a series or for a special event doesn't have 10 months to do what he's asked to do. He has 10 days if he's lucky. And 10 days, that includes the final recording session. And it's not seldom, it's always this way. It's always for yesterday.
I wrote the film, I directed it, so I really know what I want. In different places in the movie I tell him, okay, this part I'd like it more dramatic, this other part I'd like it more smooth for this and that reason, and he really listens to what I have to say. I was surprised with the scores he brought, because the two films we worked on, they were completely different. One is a science fiction and the other one is a period film. So we needed two different scores, and he was able to bring something really different for each of them.
Ça peut être facile à faire, parce que le gars, il était pas tête. Il avait pas son...
Pierre-Daniel has a very high energy level, that's for sure. His enthusiasm absorbs any meeting I've been in. And he has his knowledge, his culture goes back to, like, I would say, prehistoric music. He would, name an instrument, a composer, an arranger. I mean, that always gives a good steadiness to the point he's trying to make. Because sometimes usually people in production don't have a good idea or don't have the right word to say what they want, what they're looking for. And they would just knock off any composer. I like something like Strauss. Well, something like Strauss means that's what you want to mean? Not really. And then he directs them to what they really want. And usually the client is feels more intelligent because he was able to participate in a creative event. And of course, we don't have to go screwing around 23 versions trying to pinpoint what he really wants. So usually he nails them really at the first or second meeting. He's really good at that.
Yeah, I would work with Pierre-Daniel again. He's fun to work with, first of all, which is really important when you spend a lot of time in the studio like this together. And also, he listens to what you have to say, and it shows in the music, and he understands what the film is all about.
The way I work is I use always the back burner process. I will give you an example. I was asked to compose music over the cosmic system. I mean, nothing else than the cosmos entirely. So 15 billion years of history, I had to treat in any fashion but not Star Wars or Star Trek. It had to be kind of not mysterious, but yes, but mostly spiritual. I was so overwhelmed by the comment. I remember I've been looking at the director talk, and the guy was really serious. I mean, he's a PhD in astrophysics, and he made his thesis on the relationship between the human being, the presence of God, and science. So you want a gig, man, this one was a killer. So it took me 3 weeks to touch the keyboard with the command, with the order. I was just watching and watching and watching the movie, and the process was ongoing. The back burner process is the way I do stuff. I have a very kind of bird eye view approach. I land on the production. I don't take off. I'm there, I see the old picture, and I say, okay, now let's narrow it down. And I just narrow it down, till I eliminate all stuff I hate from myself again, because I'm really hard. I can scrap through 3, 4, 5 canvas before saying, I got the lead. And when I got the lead, I always ask my best public, my wife, to come to me and say, what do you think of this? 22 minutes of music, it's quite a demand. I mean, it's symphonic, we're talking about piles of notes, thousands of notes. And when we got in studio for the first run, so the interlock, we call that, all parts at 0, but just listen to what we got. I never speak the first after a screening, because I'm presenting what I had to say. It was there on the picture. It was there on the speakers. So the director is facing the screen, and he cannot speak. So 2 things. Or he's completely devastated, or he likes it. But we have to wait for the person to talk. And he looked at me and he said, sorry, I can't speak. I'm too moved. And after recollecting and screening it back again, he came to me and said, it's beyond all my expectations. You went so far. I would never expect that to happen. You really gave life to my story. And I think I just said exactly what people are asking me, what I'm doing in life. I'm giving life to a story. I'm the 5th character in the drama. I'm the person who foreshadow the emotion to come, or to underline the emotion. And there are so many examples in cinematic repertoire where you remove the music from the pictures and they become almost meaningless.
La ceinture d'astéroïdes suit une orbite encore plus grande autour du Soleil. La plupart des astéroïdes prennent entre 4 et 5 ans pour faire le tour de notre étoile. Malgré les distances immenses qui les séparent, il arrive parfois que les astéroïdes se...
Today, after almost 30 years, even though I really wanted to be on stage when I was at school, I would not change or I would not trade place now. I really like to be behind the camera or behind the screen. It gives me so much more latitude where also physics doesn't really count. It's not because I'm complaining about myself, it's because, for instance, I'm precluded with arthritis. Since, for the 10 last years, I've been fighting arthritis. So when you're in concert and you get a cramp, you're really in trouble. When you're in studio, you just relax. You stop and you say, okay, you stretch your fingers and say, okay, let's start over again, that cue. So I think it goes better with my physical condition. Now, what about being famous? I don't really... Actually, you know what? It's absolutely none of my concern. It's totally not a concern. I mean, being famous is what? Being famous. I know so many people who are famous are just starving. I know so many people who are so famous and have such a miserable life. I'm a very happy guy. I'm blessed, in fact. I would call myself a page turner. When something is done, I turn the page and I say, what is the best I can pick of that new situation or of that evolving situation or that very bad situation? What can I do with that? That's my nature. I'm really foregoing. Looking back is not really helpful if you consider that only as regrets. You have to look back only to be sure that you are not going to do again the mistakes you did 10, 15, or 20 years before. So, what am I going to do in the future? Probably still I will work as long as directors will want me to work for them, as production houses will like to work with me, but I'm going to leave myself, for myself, some stuff I will finally accept as being my stuff.